Now we're back in session, and thank you all for being patient with our little recess. Mr. Dice, if you would start the ordinances.
Yes, the first ordinance is an ordinance that I believe Mr. Ramsey wanted to be put back on the agenda from last month. It's an ordinance repealing ordinance number 2204 and restoring the municipal manager as a tax collector for all 511 taxes and other taxes, fees, assessments, and charges that are levied by the municipality. This has nothing to do with property tax.
Motion on the floor.
Move to approve?
Is there a second?
Second.
Questions or comments?
And I brought up on Thursday that, according to the charter, that the elected officials should not work for the municipality for a period of 2 years after they are no longer elected officials. The tax collector is one of the elected officials that's mentioned in the Home Rule Charter. And so I think this is restoring us back to the Home Rule Charter, which, again, it put this originally under the municipal manager, and it states clearly that elected officials should not be working for the municipality while they're elected or for a period of 2 years after.
Any other questions or comments on this item before you?
Yeah, it took us 12 years to realize that, I guess.
Any other questions or comments, council? I do have one, and as you all know, that this council, even though the Home Rule Charter, it is a guide, you can certainly, as they have for the last 12 years, has allowed the tax collector from Geneva McKee through Pat Fulkerson to do the 511 taxes. So this is nothing new, and it's not a major violation of anything. This council has a right by ordinance to do as they have done for the last 12 years. This is not a federal law or a state law. This is a Home Rule Charter which you can amend, and they have for the last 12 years. No other questions or comments? Roll call. Sharon, please.
Mr. Erb?
Aye.
Dr. Griesog?
No.
Mrs. Drumheller?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
No.
Mrs. Allison?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
No.
Mr. Ramsey?
Aye.
Mr. Dice.
Okay, the next ordinance is appointing Lynette Claire McKinney as manager of the municipality of Monroeville.
Motion on the floor.
I'd make a motion that we approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Questions or comments?
Yeah, I'd like to make a couple.
Sure.
I had mentioned the other night, and regarding 3 people, and part of it went to degrees, and part of it goes to leadership and suitability within particular areas. The first 2 people that I mentioned were John Scully and Carly Fiorni. John Scully was the president of PepsiCo at one point. He came into Apple, he ousted Steve Jobs, and as a result of his leadership, it was pretty much required that Microsoft infused a bunch of money into Apple in the 90s because John Scully, after he ran out of the steam that Steve Jobs had created in the 90s, or in the 80s, he pretty much harmed Apple. He's a very successful businessman. He is extremely wealthy. He is now investing in healthcare-related things, and he's a very successful man, but he was not suitable for the culture at Apple. Carly Fiorni was at AT&T and Lucent. At one point in the 80s and in the 90s, she was named the most powerful woman executive in the country. She took over at HP and proceeded to destroy the value of HP to the point where when her tenure was over, the value of the stock was half of what it was when she first went in. Point is, they both were highly decorated individuals. They both had their MBAs. They were both did quite well in other areas, but in the two places, and again, she is very successful in what she does since she's left HP. But they both did not fit within the culture that they were in, and they did not do well as the CEOs. I mentioned C. Edwin Barnes. It also could be Edwin C. Barnes. For anybody that's familiar with him, he had no education, he had no money, he had no connections, and he told Thomas Edison that he was going to be a business partner of Thomas Edison. And in fact, he did become a business partner of Thomas Edison's because he had the leadership and the integrity that Thomas Edison ultimately was looking for, from going from doing odd jobs and other things for Thomas Edison, he became a business partner. Last person that I want to mention, and this is all relevant, because there's questions as to whether or not Ms. McKinney is the right person for this position. And the last person I'm going to mention is Jane Goodall. When she was sent on her research path, she was, like Ms. McKinney, a secretary. Her boss, Louis Leakey, who is world-renowned in the field of anthropology, was ridiculed internationally, globally, by his peers for sending a mere secretary to do the research work that she did. And the research work that this mere secretary did pushed forward the study of primates in anthropology much further than anybody had ever imagined. So I look at those things, and what I would tell you is that the requirement, as somebody read earlier, is a basis of executive and administrative qualifications and at least 3 years of experience in governmental administration. She's trained many of the people that served as managers over the last 20 years. She worked for Marshall Bond, who has been criticized and praised for the work that he did in Monroeville. She understands this municipality. She understands the culture of this municipality. She has the integrity, the leadership capabilities, the leadership. She carries herself with the appropriate leadership. She has the decision-making power. And she's fearless in light of the work that she has to do. And she will move this community forward. As far as the expenditures, even with the increase in salary that I would suggest would also be coming up when we get to the fixing of compensation and benefits, there is a reduction in the overall manager's office payout, including what we've already paid to as far as a severance. There is a reduction from $286,000 to $278,000. So I know there's concerns that there's money just getting squandered. We're actually saving money. And with that, I would urge council very strongly to support this ordinance.
Any other questions or comments on this item?
I have
I'd like to
comment, Mayor.
make one comment, if I may, real quick. Lynette, I've known
I'll
you
get with you.
I respect your work for over the 20-some years that you've worked there. I've known you and worked with you. But I just don't agree with some of your actions. I'll leave it at that.
Nick?
Mr. Hurd brought up some individuals he brought up last week, so I had the opportunity to check things out. John Scully, yes, he was the youngest VP of marketing at Pepsi. He started in the assembly line, he worked his way up, became the vice president of marketing, and actually, if people that are old enough to remember, he was the one behind the Pepsi Challenge. They wanted to rival Coke and did the Pepsi taste test, and he climbed the ladder, and he ended up becoming the manager of the international food operations for Pepsi. And from there, yes, he did go to Apple. Apple did get him, and then eventually he was ousted from Apple. And just to be clear, both times Mr. Scully left Pepsi, both Pepsi and Apple, he was not replaced by the secretary that was underneath him. Mr. Barnes he came from little education and went to see Mr. Edison and told him that he was going to be his business partner. Mr. Edison, acknowledging his veracity and his determination, gave him a job as a handyman, and he worked there for several years as a handyman and worked his way up and, yes, proved himself. In no way am I questioning Mrs. McKinney's determination, desire to be successful, her ability to be successful, her experience in the manager's office. There's no question, absolutely. What I would ask council, though, is to slow down a little bit on the hiring of the manager and leave her, which she's been doing a decent job with, as interim manager, and then properly advertise both in-house and externally for a replacement. And also, she certainly will have the opportunity to apply for that position when the time comes, and there's a good chance that she perhaps would be in the running with all of her experience up to that point. So I would ask council to slow down a little bit here. Mrs. McKinney absolutely may be the right person for the job, but I would ask we slow down a little bit, leave her at interim manager for the time being until we get this all sorted out.
Once again, any questions or other comments?
Yes, Mayor.
Please.
Notes taken since last time, and listening to what's been said about integrity and leadership, the ability to be successful, not necessarily being an equivalent. In fact, it's not an equivalent to leadership and the ability to lead. I can say that from the gentleman, one of the gentlemen that were up here, also a comment that I noted was, and probably one of the true comments that he said is, I'll take a streetwise cop, in this case manager, over a bookwise one. I think bottom line is that there's a timeline of about 8 months, perhaps a little more, between February 2012 to August of 2012, and then again this year, February on. These are actual accomplishments. And they're accomplishments during a time that were not necessarily easy times to accomplish anything. One is a decreased municipal health insurance premium that we accomplished in 2012 under Mrs. McKinney. The next is that we now have all streets named, a promise but an unfulfilled task under the previous, two managers previous to that. Another is that we now have a rock-solid, secure, and safe functioning IT department. Another, we have moved in the middle of recent chaos to present a fair bid contract in place, beginning with the reviews in front of this month, which I respectfully go along with. Another is we have moved in a legal and an expedient manner to hire police officers who are, by the way, young officers. One is set to be hired as of March 18th, 2013. Two have been made conditional offers. And that's moving forward in a much more expedient manner and a legal manner without leaving anything unfulfilled. And finally, the municipal manager's budget, as Mr. Erb had been discussing in the office for the year 2013, this is a budget reduction of $8,049.82. So I will take that streetwise and experience and leadership over what I have seen in over 4 years, any day.
Any other questions or comments, council?
Yes, Mayor. When Mrs. McKinney was first appointed to the interim position, many were skeptical. We received, as I know I did, a lot of not very pleasant emails about her ability to just keep the ship afloat, as they say. But she did more than that. She not only kept the municipality functioning without missing one beat, she made the place hers, she ran it, and she takes much personal pride in being an effective, efficient manager whose goal is not just to put Monroeville back on the map, but by making it better than ever. She knows how it was, what has it become, and where it needs to go. Her accomplishments were extraordinary, and Mr. Drumheller mentioned a few of them, even under the most adversarial conditions. Some critics actually changed their opinion, and we received follow-up emails with regards to it. I hope many of our current critics will do so as well. During her years in the manager's office, she has remained politically neutral, and her devotion and dedication has been to the municipality. No one or nothing else. She was employed by the manager's office for 20 years, serving under Marshall Bond, who, as Mr. Erb said, has been complimented and criticized, but he has been known to have one of the highest degrees, many years' experience, and basically she served a 20-year internship. And that can't be taught in a classroom. This is exactly what has been missing from a manager not familiar with Monroeville's sordid history, and some of it may not be as pleasant or done as appropriately as it may seem or should have been done. She knows all this, all of it, and knows how to best deal with it in the best interest of the future of the municipality. Her dedication and commitment is and always has been to her community. She has served the people of this community for many years, residents and businesses alike, with professionally and with integrity and character, and because of this, I strongly urge you to support this ordinance.
Any other questions or comments, council? Well, I'm certainly going to have something to say as well. In regards to the street naming, if you all remember, that was certainly last year, but that was requested by our fire departments as well as our engineering because of safety factors. It just happened at that time. Let's talk about the IT department. They're saying that it's stellar. Well, one of the reasons they fired the prior director by Ms. McKinney was there was a lot of computers downstairs that sat for months. It took 9-10 months before this current IT even thought about touching it. I'm not even sure they're all up and operating. In regards to the officers being hired, if you all remember, that was discussed. When they went down that list, some of those veterans, as you know, we have to hire veterans first, they didn't pass all the requirements, if you will. So they had to redo. That takes time. Looking at the insurance, yeah, it's certainly, we got a reduction while Mrs. McKinney was there, but that was certainly due to our insurance broker. That's his job. His job is to make sure we get the most bang for our buck. They also talked about the $8,049 reduction. They used these 278 and whatever it was. I'd like to see a breakdown of that because my breakdown doesn't match that. I'll talk about that in my report. And again, this is not picking, and I know it sounds like I'm picking on Mrs. McKinney. I just want to get the facts straight. I hear all this stuff. They don't tell you the whole story. I want the whole story to get out there. And I agree that she does a fine job as our secretary, the interim manager. Do you remember the one meeting when she's made the statement that she reviewed and evaluated our former police chief and several other departments? When I asked for him the next day, to this day, I don't have one. She chastised and disciplined people for insubordination. Now, it's probably not insubordination to me. I don't have a vote. So, I mean, let's just, when we're going to talk, let's talk facts. And that's what I like. And I'll leave it at that.
I got one question.
Sure.
Just one thing real quick. I agree with most things that Mrs. Allison said. Mrs. McKinney's a good lady, she is. Haven't known her
No
that long.
question.
My question would be this. Most places that I know people that are employed, it's called the opportunity for equal employment. I have a hard time understanding how in this building, however many employees there are, I'm sure there's quite a few that are qualified to do that position that she's going to go into. I don't understand why it wasn't put up for the rest of the employees to get the opportunity to say, maybe I'd like to get a shot at that job. That's all I got to say.
Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mr. Ramsey?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
No.
Mrs. Allison?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
No.
Mrs. Drumheller?
Aye.
Dr. Griesbach?
No.
Mr. Erb?
Aye.
Mr. Dice.
Yes, the third ordinance is an ordinance fixing the compensation and benefits of the municipal manager pursuant to Section 501I and 701 of the Home Rule Charter, and in accordance with the salary ordinance of 2570 for Lynette Claire McKinney.
Motion on the floor?
I'd motion that we approve this ordinance with the modification that 2C is removed.
There's a motion to...
Second.
Second?
What
Roll-
section was that? I'm sorry.
2C.
2C.
2C, which is the portion about
Education.
the manager agrees to pursue a bachelor's degree and shall be provided with tuition and expenses. We should strike that.
Questions or comments on
I
this?
have a
We need a second.
Yeah.
Or did we get one? Oh, I'm sorry, I
Yes,
didn't
we
hear.
did.
We did.
Yeah, we had a second.
Yes.
Steve, you're going to say something.
I have the problem with taking the education out. I feel that the manager for this community should have the education.
No, they meant paying for the education, not
Well,
the
they're taking
education.
the education out. The education, I'm in
You're-
favor
Oh, so you're...
of
okay,
her
I'm
getting the
sorry.
education, possibly on her own dime then, you know. That's what I feel, and I feel strongly of that.
Any other questions or comments, council?
Mr. Dice, if I want to, procedurally, if I would like to make an amendment as well, how would that
Yes.
be handled?
This would be the appropriate time. You would add to what Mr. Erb has indicated. He's made a motion to approve and a second with that withdrawal, and that's been seconded. So if you have another amendment, it's appropriate now to state it.
The amendments I would like to make would be the date of hire, which is on the first page, would be today's date or tomorrow's date, whichever is procedurally the best way to do it. Currently is listed as January 31st of 2013. I would like to amend it so the date of hire would be the date of this ordinance, March 13th, which would be tomorrow, I think is the first business day after it is signed.
Is there a second?
Second.
Now, Mr. Dice, I have, should I do the,
You have another amendment.
yes, can I do them all together and see if I get a second on that?
Well,
Or should I do them each
I think we have to
individually?
do them separate. So you've got it now. You've got that First Amendment. Now, that needs to be voted on first.
Okay.
Roll call.
Well, there
What
was an
about
amendment
Burns?
prior to his.
What about Burns?
No, because I
No.
made the motion with the
Yeah,
amendment.
his is the original motion.
I
Okay.
just included it in the original motion.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
This is the
so,
second layer.
yeah, Dr. Griesbach has, that's correct. It's a second layer. And the second layer gets voted on first. So it's appropriate, before you go any further, to vote on that second layer, which is to change in Section 1 from January 31st to March 13th.
And can I discuss that, since we have a second?
Yeah, there
There's
was
a
a
second
second.
now, yes.
There was a second.
Just to be clear, date of hire would be today's date, and Mrs. McKinney would be at interim status until this date of hire. And if we are going to compensate her or reward her like we have in the past, whenever she was interim manager, we could discuss that. But to back pay to January 31st, that's why I wanted to change from today's hire date. We could always discuss from January 31st to March 13th, discuss compensation. But as far as fixing the compensation, I think it'd be proper to do it by today's date. Just to
Roll
be-
call,
If,
Sharon, please.
no, let me, my question would be this. The minimum pay under the Monroeville ordinances, there is a salary. That minimum salary has been included in this ordinance. Are you suggesting that as part of this amendment, that we're going to continue to pay her appropriately from the time that she started in this position on the 31st, and then she becomes the manager as of today or tomorrow? Or are you suggesting that we are not compensating her for that period?
Well, two things. The dollar amount that is listed here, $88,808, is not the minimum. The 2013 approved minimum range is $86,808. for that position. But to answer your question, I think that's a separate issue to if we're going to compensate her for her interim status, as we did her previous interim stint. We got together and we agreed on a compensation for the time she spent as interim. And I think, as past precedents, I think we should do the same thing, pay her accordingly to her interim status, and then, as you suggest, her salary would start on her hire date, which I'm suggesting would be March 13th, the date we approve this as a council.
Questions or other comments, council?
So just to clarify that, it's unknown as to whether or not anything varies from her secretarial administrative assistant base salary between from the point where she came in on the 31st of January till today's date. That's set where it was as an administrative assistant.
Yeah, and I believe that's a separate issue as far as compensating her for covering for the manager and being the interim manager, like we have in the past, when the last time she was interim manager.
Yeah, I recall how that went down.
Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mr. Erb?
No.
Dr. Griesbach?
Aye.
Mrs. Drumheller?
No.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mrs. Allison?
No.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Ramsey?
No.
And then now let's vote on the second.
I have another amendment, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry, you had another one. I'm sorry.
One more. Section 6. Which refers to a severance package that Monroeville shall, after completing 1 year of service, pay a sum equal to 6 months' salary as severance sum in the event of council, for whatever reason, should choose to terminate the manager. And then it goes on for every year of service, she gets an extra month. I believe that's pretty standard language that we've done for previous managers. For Mr. Silka, I believe is also for Mr. Little, I believe. However, the last sentence I would like to strike. The last sentence says that council shall acknowledge past employment as interim manager in the 2012 year for purposes of credit towards severance. So I'd like to strike that last sentence, and reason being, as we just discussed, we did compensate Mrs. McKinney for her interim status in 2012 whenever she was interim manager between Mr. Little and Mr. Silka being hired. We did compensate her, and I don't feel that we should be counting that time frame towards a possible severance. However, leaving the rest of the language in, which is pretty standard for what we do for when we hire managers.
Is there a second?
Second.
Questions or comments? Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mr. Ramsey?
No.
Mr. Duncan?
Yes.
Mrs. Allison?
No.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mrs. Drumheller?
No.
Dr. Griesbach?
Aye.
Mr.
No.
Twice, that's crazy.
Okay,
Okay, so we're back to the original motion by Mr. Erb, which has the amendment in it to eliminate 2C. And there's a motion and a second.
any other
So
questions
you-
or comments? Roll call, Sharon, please.
I have a
Oh,
question.
I'm sorry.
Is there adequate money in the budget after Silka's severance and Silka's pay? There is?
I
Yes.
just pointed out there was an $8,000 savings.
After we paid the severance?
Yes.
And his,
Yes.
whatever, 2 months' pay? Okay,
And
thank
his
you.
benefits.
And his benefits. Okay, thank you.
It's in the line item for that department, which also includes the administrative assistant position that she's also done.
And also, we're not going at the base rate, we're going at the 88,808, correct?
Yes. As it's stated.
No other comments? Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mr. Erb?
Yes.
Dr. Griesbach?
No.
Mrs. Drumheller?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
No.
Mrs. Allison?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
No.
Mr. Ramsey?
Aye.
Mr. Dice.
Yes, I think it's the fourth ordinance now. Ordinance authorizing the proper officials to enter into a personal benefits agreement with the chief of police. And this, I think, was also subject to Mr. Erb's possible amendment by paragraph 15.
Correct. I'd make a motion that we approve based on the ordinance eliminating number 15, which is education, and again, it's the boilerplate language that we've used prior. So we eliminate that.
Is there a second?
Second.
Questions or comments?
Question. There isn't an ordinance stating that the chief has to have a degree?
Says that he needs to have a degree or the experience required as a police officer.
I have a quick question. Who would the proper officials be that make these decisions? Maybe I should know that answer, but I don't.
I don't understand the question.
Authorizing the proper officials to enter into the personnel benefits agreement. I'm asking who those people.
That would be Mrs. McKinney.
Okay, thanks. My question. Thank you.
Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mr. Ramsey?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
No.
Mrs. Allison?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
No.
Mrs. Drumheller?
Aye.
Dr. Griesbach?
No.
Mr. Erb?
Aye.
Mr. Dice.
Yes, the last controversy ordinance that we have is an ordinance amending ordinance number 848 regulating parking on Old Abers Creek Road.
Motion on the floor.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Questions or comments? Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mr. Erb?
Yes.
Dr. Griesbach?
Aye.
Mrs. Drumheller?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mrs. Allison?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Yes.
Mr. Ramsey?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Dice. And now we'll open up to public comments. Again, this is your opportunity to address council on anything that's on your mind. Once again, please state your name and address for...
Betsy
the
Desmond,
record.
560 Firethorn. Congratulations on your job, but none of you listened to the people of Monroeville. None of you. The ones that, all we wanted to do was wait. You did not. So when you do not get back into office, your fault. 1 month, all we ask, wait a month. You didn't, you didn't, you didn't. And Clarence, you didn't, and you're not going to be in office anyways. You did not listen to the residents. They didn't say they were against her. They just wanted you to wait. So when you don't get back into office, your fault.
Once again, I'll open it up.
On every street in every neighborhood.
Once again, I will open it up for comments to anybody in the public.
Kathy Hackworth, Saunders Station. Sorry.
That's okay.
There probably would not be as much hostility towards this appointment, Mr. Mayor, had not the impression not been given that she was willing to do whatever 4 people on council said to do. If she had waited at least 5 minutes instead of 2 minutes before demoting Doug Cole, maybe they would have thought she had thought on her own. I don't know if you did or you didn't. I don't mean to impugn your integrity. I know that's how it sounds. But whenever 2 days later, you did exactly what Mr. Silka said that they wanted him to do and he quit instead, that's the appearance that has been given. That is the appearance out in the community. That's what everybody thinks. And that's why people are angry. Because they probably wouldn't be as mad if she had just been appointed manager, replace an old manager. The fact that after 2 days, she came out, took somebody down because somebody else wanted it. Don't know why. Really don't care at this point. I don't know what you were talking about with all those people. Who cares about them? She may be good at what she's doing, but that's not what the requirements say. That's not what the community is saying. Make her apply for the job along with everybody else who wants to apply, not just one person.
Once again, I will keep open the floor for folks.
Ron Harvey, Chief of Monroeville No. 5 Fire Company. Bet you thought this was going to be political at first, huh? But it's not. What it is that myself and Chief Kotowski called Lynette's office on 3 different occasions to leave message about that money that you are questioning. He did get a call back from her, and apparently either misunderstood because she misstated herself tonight. But we went up to the municipal building when Mr. Zilka was here, and they explained to pay for 2012's insurance and 2013's insurance, which would have come close to the agreed amount. They said that they couldn't take the 2012 money because it was gone already, hence why you only see the payment for the 2013. We still intend on meeting our end of the agreement, although I don't feel like it anymore because the money you just blew. But the fact of the matter is we're going to stand up to our end of the agreement. It was, matter of fact, we attempted to. We came up and they said that 2012, for some reason, they couldn't take the 2012 bill. So we gave them the 2013. We still owe part of that agreement. We know that. So he intends on coming up here and taking care of it.
Thank you.
Just to let you know.
Once again, I'll leave the floor open for any comments to council. This is your time. Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the meeting, and we'll move over to our reports of the officials. And Lynette, you always have the most, so you're up.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank council for trusting me to lead our community. I recognize the split nature of this appointment. I want council and the community to know I work for all of Monroeville, all members of council, and the residents of all 7 wards. Throughout history, divided governments have proven to be great challenges for those in leadership. I promise to council and the community that I am up to the challenge. Our community faces enormous difficulties. We have significant issues within the police department, and we have huge fiscal problems with our finances. These administrative hurdles and others will require all of us to work together to find solutions. I will need all members of council, the entire municipal staff, and all of the residents to be involved to find solutions to these issues. The citizens will not and should not accept failure. As to some of the issues within the police department, since my appointment in February, I have hired 1 new officer who will start on Monday, and 2 more have been extended offers pending the outcome of their physicals and psychological evaluations. I, along with Chief Pascarella and the Civil Service Commission, will be looking to hire 7 more officers before the end of this year. We have posted and are in the process of testing to promote 3 to 5 new supervisors within the police department. We are ordering a van for prisoner transport, and we are finding ways to maintain our staffing levels while the new officers are being trained in order to manage the overtime efficiently. The police department, like any other department, must work within the confines of their budget. But I will assure our residents and council at no time will public safety be compromised. Regarding the current finances, we just experienced a very difficult budget process. Our residents expect us to live within our tax revenues. We cannot continue to spend more than we take in, and our residents will not tolerate another tax increase. I have already begun to work with the finance department and all the department heads, looking for ways to trim our expenses and increase our revenues without raising taxes. We will look to save money by working and negotiating with our vendors, and we will work to make all of our departments more cost-effective. To council and mayor, I am asking you to find ways to work through your differences. Our community needs leadership, and you have been elected to provide it. Please, for the good of the community, find a way to work together. I am going to need all of your work with me to finding solutions to our community, for our community. To my staff, we need to be thinking outside the box. Old answers and old solutions will not be enough for today's problems. We need to get creative to find solutions for any and all of our problems. I ask you to be patient, but be creative. I never want to hear, "This is how we used to do it." I want to hear, "I have a new idea." And to the residents and business community, I need you the most. I need you to let me, through your elected officials, know how we are doing. You need to be the barometer to our successes and shortcomings. Please pay attention and keep me and council informed. This is what I promise to council, our staff, the businesses, and all of the residents in our community. I promise you my best. I promise that I will work hard for you, and I will produce measurable results. Monroeville has been my home and my family's home for generations. I will work tirelessly to continue to make our community a safe place to raise a family, a terrific place to do business, and a fun place to work, shop, and play. I ask everyone for their support. Once again, I thank council for their trust, and I promise to produce the results the residents and the business owners deserve in this community. Thank you.
You have some more stuff.
Yes. The first item under my report is the sale of the fire truck from Fire Company Number 1. I was asked to report this from the fire chief. They sold a 1993 Seagrave pumper in the amount of $18,500. And in accordance with Ordinance 2514, the money will be set in a separate account, so I just wanted to report that as asked.
Questions or comments? Lynette?
The second item is the closing of our Comcast Service Center at 2300 Eldo Road on April 26th. We received a letter from Comcast indicating that that would be closed. I am going to do some further checking into our franchise agreement to find out if they're permitted to do that, but I just wanted to give residents a heads up on that if you're going to be making a trip over to Eldo Road.
Excuse me, we had this come up, Bruce, before. Did you review that agreement? Are they permitted to do this, or do you have to check it again?
I want to look again, but I recollect that there's a provision in it that they agreed to maintain an office.
Office for payments? Or
Yes.
just?
It was before.
That's what I thought, and that's why.
I'm not sure of the extent of it, but I know there was an office.
It was for payment.
If their time frame's up, because this was already brought up once before, and they have an agreement.
Yeah.
They also had other things at that same facility. So the way that I saw this is more and more things are being done remotely because of the technology, and so therefore that not many people need to come to this
Yeah, but I
customer
thought one
service
of the
area.
things was payment in person, but I'm.
Yeah, there's something in there
Yeah,
about-
that's what I thought too, so. Not just maintaining a physical office for other reasons, but for payment.
Well, Bruce, you'll
Yeah,
make a report.
that's not a problem.
All right. You'll send everybody an email on that.
Well, this just was put on
can't
since
send it.
Thursday. so.
Oh, well, let everybody know. Lynette, I'm sorry.
Yes, the third item I'm very pleased to report is our GFOA Award. The Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting has been awarded to the municipality of Monroeville by the Government Finance Officers Association of the United States and Canada for its comprehensive and annual financial report. The Certificate of Achievement is the highest form of recognition in the area of governmental accounting and financial reporting, and its attainment represents a significant accomplishment by government and its management. And I wanted to report to council that this is the 20th award that Susan Worksman, our finance officer, has received, and I wanted to congratulate her.
Very good, Susan.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
One more item, Lynette.
Okay, the next item is kind of interesting. Father Luisi from North American Martyrs has contacted me via phone and the attached correspondence, which I sent to mayor and council yesterday. He's interested in getting approval from council for either the mayor or myself to write a letter of support to County Executive Rick Fitzgerald that we are in agreement with other municipalities serviced by Elkasand that we need to meet to discuss Elkasand's building treatment plant under the river deal with the sewage caused by runoff when the rainwater overflows. That's a mouthful.
So the point of this is to request a meeting?
Basically. Actually, I think what they're requesting is that we send a letter to Mr. Fitzgerald that says we're in support of this.
In support of having a meeting
Support
with
of
them?
this group having a meeting, yes.
Do you have any update? Maybe Steve can answer. Do you have any update? Because it mentions that he spoke to Mr. Caper. Do you have any idea what you have spoken to him about and what they...
I do not right now. I can find that out, and I will present that at the next meeting.
That'd be a good idea.
So would this be a meeting with this organization and perhaps our water authority here? Is that what they're trying to
I
accomplish?
think it's actually a combined community effort from all the communities throughout Allegheny County.
I thought it was more of an Alcoasand.
It is
request.
Alcoasand, really.
So that wouldn't relate to our authority as far as water.
He had a meeting with Mr. Caper.
Yeah, I will find out
Okay,
what
yeah.
what
On the
the
sewage.
meeting is about.
Yeah, and I actually put a call into Father Luisi today to see if he could possibly come to our meeting to help us, work through the explanation of this, but I didn't hear back from him, so.
So this is a decision we don't have to make tonight?
Well, he told me when he dropped off the information to me on Friday that this was kind of time sensitive. So this is why I'm kind of bringing it to council.
Well, I wouldn't have any, I'm sure you wouldn't either, Lynette, doing the letter. I'm just not clear what he's asking for. Is he asking for, like Steve said, a meeting just with Alcoasand? Does he want our water authority there as well?
I believe he's already talked to the water.
Well, see, I
He's
mean,
just
I don't know
looking
any of
for
that is what I'm saying.
municipal
It's, you know,
support.
so,
Well,
we can clear that up.
We have a meeting next week, so I'll get those answers.
Can you
Do you need
also
any-
find out how time sensitive he's talking about? Is he talking about like tomorrow, next week? Yeah.
Could, again, I guess this is a question for Mr. Dice. Is this something that we could approve as provided that this is something that the municipal authority is interested in doing? Because I would think that the municipal authority has more nexus here than we do.
That's if it's just sanitary. It might be stormwater as well. I think we need a little more explanation.
See, that's right.
But I think the direction is, let's move forward with this. I think that's the direction I'm hearing from council, and I think Lynette can do that on her own motion to do that.
Meanwhile, though, if anybody does need any preliminary information from the 2010 newly elected officials course, there was a whole section that had to do with this huge initiative that was, ultimately would go into improving and what they called combined sewer, CSO.
Yeah.
And I brought that with me. I could make copies for anybody just to bring them up to date on what was the plan overall. They're talking about some of the same agencies. And the other thing is, do you need anybody to be in attendance, Steve, to your meeting, to your
To hold my hand?
council?
No, I think I can get the information. I mean, whoever'd like to attend.
Yeah, oh, sure. All right.
If you remember, Jamie touched a little bit on that in his
Yeah.
report.
Well, the MS4,
And
that's
that's
part of
the
it.
one that's going to cost all of us as taxpayers billions of dollars just in Allegheny County.
Yeah, everybody.
It's, well, I'm just worried about our little world, but very expensive. Okay, Lynette, if you'll just maybe get more information on that, and like Bruce said, I think you certainly can follow up with that, and I have no issue as well. But again, I think we all need more information. Is that it then?
That's my last item, yes.
Mr. Dice?
I have nothing.
Mr. Ramsey, we'll start off with you, sir, this evening.
Nothing.
Steve?
I have nothing else.
Diane?
Yes, first, I would like to congratulate Chief Pascarella as he was sworn in, and Manager McKinney. Both have been Monroeville residents all their lives and have shown dedication as they have competently served their community for many years. Also, as I said on Thursday, in an effort to hopefully once and for all put to bed rumors and continual allegations, I've asked for a written legal opinion from our solicitor as well as the solicitor for the Civil Service Commission concerning a detective position being handpicked. As questions have continued, all pertinent municipal ordinances were forwarded for review in order to form the legal opinion and recommendation. Of particular interest is the ordinance that specifically addresses the detective position, which states that the detective position is of the competitive class and cannot be changed without a public hearing. This means no one can be handpicked and promoted, and if that were to change, a public hearing and statement of reasons for same is required. Without this remains in force. There has been no such public hearing. After review of the ordinances and in conjunction with the Borough Code, in which we were court-ordered to abide for civil service testing in 2006, The legal opinion by the Civil Service Commission attorney, Mr. Sean Warner, is that there is nothing in the rules or regulations which specifically state that the position of detective is no longer a position of competitive class, and it does not conflict with any other ordinances, so therefore it is agreed that the detective position is of competitive class pursuant to Monroeville's ordinances, and the promotion of such is to be done by examination through the Civil Service Commission. It, again, in no way means anyone can handpick anyone, chief, manager, counsel, etc., as continually inferred. I hope this review of ordinances, borough code, rules, and regulations finally satisfies those who continue to believe and spread this false information based on the irresponsible behavior of the mayor. What is absolutely unacceptable because of this is that the dangerous situation that has already been encountered by an officer employed by the municipality, accelerated by this public misinformation stated by the mayor. The municipal employees in which the mayor should represent objectively and equally has been compromised because of no forethought and lack of control. I really hope this not was the mayor's direct intent, to purposely bring about harm to an officer, but I've yet to see any means of the mayor's attempting correcting the situation that may lead to a correction in the misperception by the public. And next, I would like to go over the shows coming to the Monroeville Convention Center. Tomorrow, we have Westpac Spring Job Fair. March 15th through 17th, we have the International Gem and Jewelry Show. March 22nd through 24th, the Greater Pittsburgh Arts and Crafts Spring Fever Festival. And March 30th and 31st, the Western PA Kennel Club Dog Show. Also, as I stated on Thursday, I would like to commend the school crossing guard, Kim Redenbach, for being alert to her surroundings and the performance of her daily duties as a crossing guard, as she reported a suspicious person. This is what is stressed in the Neighborhood Crime Watch programs, and this particular case is a great example. Kim was not even aware of the amount of people she helped to recover stolen items, 5 victims so far, and as important to what she possibly could have stopped from happening that day or another day. Due to the excellent work on behalf of a few daylight officers, some residents recovered items even before they knew they were missing. So once again, thank you, Kim, and her attentiveness and willingness to be involved. Also, happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody and a happy Easter.
Jim.
Yes, Mayor, I have a couple of things. First off, I have a letter here from Duquesne Light. I don't want to read the whole thing, but I'll give you the short summary. The folks in Alpine Village, they are going to be working in that area starting March 18th, from the hours of 8:30 a.m. until 4:30 p.m. Several of the streets, they are going to be working on the transformers, which ultimately means digging. Your service is going to be interrupted. From what I can see here, reading this, probably a few hours a day. They're going to have a meeting here in the municipal building on March the 14th at 7 o'clock. Unfortunately, I won't be here. I'll be out of town. For you folks that want to know anything, you can be here. They will answer any questions. They will have a rep here. In the interim, if you go to www.duquesnelight.com, that's one way you can find out what they're doing. The other thing is they have a phone number here. It's 412-393-6810. If none of those work, you can call me at my house, 412-856-0556, and I'll be glad to answer as many questions as I can. On that note, my daughter Sam works in corporate communications. I know you guys don't know her, but she spends a lot of time writing speeches. She really does. Thanks to her, most of the time I don't look like a complete idiot up here. I read most of the time what she writes for me because she helps me tremendously. I decided tonight, she did, here it is, I have it. I'm not even going to read it, and I'll tell you why. No matter what she puts in here, no matter how good she is, it's basically for you older folks like me. If you remember the old needle on a record, it goes over and over and over again. There's nothing I can say that hasn't been said before, nothing. The only thing I can tell all you residents out there, from me to you, if you'd like to help me, and you want me to help you, go to the polls and vote. That's the end of my discussion.
Mrs. Drumheller.
Yes, Mayor. A few items. These are repeat items, but they're on Senior Center. The Senior Center bulletin for both the months of March and April is out and available at the Senior Center. Beginning in March, hot lunches have started up again, their monthly lunches, and that would be the 25th of this month. Stay informed with this newsletter. It has plenty of information in here. Some upcoming things would be example of the Spaghetti Festival, which is going to be in April. But during this whole portion, beginning of the year on, is, I want to remind once again, Seniors in Motion. This is a contest at the Senior Center for everyone who goes there to keep fit, and there are many components of fitness. But as you are there, this is how it works. Visit between January 14th and Friday, May 24th. Each time you attend the center and participate in a fitness-related activity, have a staff member punch a card that's given to you. Once you've visited 10 times, drop the card into a raffle box located on the front desk. This enables anybody to get several prizes and packages, fitness baskets filled with all kinds of good things to keep you on the right track. And after all, the whole thing is for fitness, and fitness has many components, and all of them are at the Senior Center. A little bit off of, well, actually, this relates to that as well. I just wanted to pass along that Representative Markosik, 25th District, had sent this out to everyone here. If you do qualify for the property tax/rent rebate program, his staff is ready to help you. There are many things that I had forwarded in this email, property tax rebate program, some of the other few free tax filing programs that are available for people as they file 2012 income tax, especially to seniors, is the tax counseling for the elderly. And if you would like to know more about this, please contact me. I'll just give you the information that Representative Markosik has passed along to all of us. And congratulations to the swearing-in of our Chief of Police and our municipal manager. I will work hard with this council, as I've done in the past and will continue to do in the future. And may we all work very, very hard to try to keep up with our new manager. That's all.
Nick?
Yes. The way we got to this point is one of the issues as far as the timing is off with everything. There's timing as far as, we discussed at length tonight, as far as the timing of things. And one of the issues, if we could back up for just a moment, there's mention of the executive session that we did not attend, I did not attend, which is the executive session of January 30th, which was the night of accepting Mr. Silka's resignation. I own up to the fact that I wasn't there. However, once again, it's about timing. The meeting that we should have had should have been weeks, if not months, prior to that moment, where all members of council could become privy to dissatisfaction with the then current manager, Mr. Silka, or any kind of issues or dissatisfaction in the police department. So we keep going back to the one meeting that we didn't go to, that we didn't get all the information. Once again, the timing was off. The timing should have been prior to. And it's more about a testament of how this council should have been working together. It started when I first got in with Mr. Little. There were some mistakes that were made as far as timing and people not hearing everything. And I would have wished that we would have learned from those mistakes. And when this happens again, it's really discouraging. And none of this is really, I know Mrs. McKinney is on the hot seat a lot of the past few meetings, and that's unfortunate. But more of the heat should be on the members of council or the councilmatic procedures that got to that point. So timing was off. We should have had those kind of meetings prior to any decision making. And my hope is moving forward that we do that we actually, all seven of us, we learn from these mistakes, we discuss things. Maybe it is still 4-3 or 5-2 or 7-0, but these are discussions that we should all have prior to decisions being made or prior to events happening. In the past, we've negotiated contracts. For Mr. Silka, we negotiated in an executive session, and we discussed things and worked as a team. The negotiating for Mrs. McKinney's contract, everyone witnessed it tonight. It was emailed to me, and this was our negotiation here. So my hope is in the future that we can work together properly. And I wish Mrs. McKinney success. I hope she can work efficiently with her department heads and continue to do good for the community. Some announcements, some of them are repeats, some are new. Pitcairn Monroeville Sportsman's Club, they are having their annual stream cleanup. That is this Saturday, March 16th at 9 a.m. It's occurring at the bottom of Saunders Station Road. What they do is they go and they clean the stream, preparing for the trout stocking. Coffee, hot chocolate, and donuts are provided. Wear boots and bring gloves. This is to prepare for the April 9th and April 23rd trout stocking at the same creek at the bottom of Saunders Station Road. So they certainly need a lot of help with all of those events. This Saturday is the cleanup, March 16th, starting at 9, and then we have April 9th and April 23rd. If you have any questions, you are to contact Dave McMaster at 412-576-6462. Certainly, too, you could always email me as well or call me as well, and I can get you as much information as needed.
Councilman, would you like me to have that put on the website and our TV 15?
That'd be great. If we could put on the website and TV, that'd be fantastic for all the dates. That'd be great. The annual Easter egg hunt. I have misplaced the date, but I believe it is March 23rd, and it begins at 10 a.m. Thank you very much. 10 a.m. at the community park. No need to register. It's a great event. We have it every year. They put out a lot of eggs. Every child leaves with a bunch of eggs. There's great prizes. It's a great event for the community, so please show up. That same day is the second annual doggy Easter egg hunt, which is being held at the Heritage Park Dog Park. And what they do is they place little dog treats in the eggs, and it's a fun event as well. That is at 2 p.m. at Heritage Park. That one, you do have to pre-register, so that way the rec department knows what to expect. How many dogs? Kids they can handle, a lot of dogs, not so much. So, then we have moving into April, the Jack Sedlak Cleanup Day is Saturday, April 20th from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Please register at the Monroeville Recreation and Parks Department. You can pick a street, area, church, region to clean. It's a great event. Registration deadline is Monday, April 8th. There's more information through the Recreation Department. Certainly, you can contact them, or it's probably on our website as well for more information. And lastly, this is also a repeat, but wanted to, on behalf of the Monroeville Recreation and Parks Advisory Committee, we want to thank UPMC for providing a grant in the amount of $50,000 for a new pavilion at the community park. That $50,000 will cover the entire cost. The pavilion comes in around $30,000 or so, and the remaining, the $20,000 is enough to cover all the electrical work, the concrete work that our Public Works Department is going to provide. It's going to be a nice asset for the community. It's in a great location, so we're really thankful for them for expressing or extending that grant to us. And that is all I have for this evening.
Vern.
First of all, I'd like to congratulate Chief Pasquarella and Manager McKinney. Secondly, April 20th is Shred It Day as well as Jack Sedlak Cleanup Day. So it's right after taxes. If you have a bunch of paper, they'll take up to 75 pounds and they'll shred it completely and get rid of it for you.
And they're also doing electronic recycling at that same time with Shred It Day as well. New rules that you can't put things in the I apologize, Mr.
It's
Irvin.
okay.
You can't put things in the landfill, so there's new regulations. So E-Loop will be there, recycling electronics as well.
And that's going to be with the Shred It
all the same day
facility.
April 20th.
The last thing is, thank you all for coming, whether you spoke for or against what's happening or what has happened. And finally, I think I mentioned it previously, Fridays there are fish fries right now. Go to the fish fries. They're at a lot of the churches. And then April 5th, Crossroads is having a spaghetti dinner as well. And happy St. Patrick's Day. Sunday also happens to be a really special time for Troop 184. We're going to have 3 new Eagle Scouts that are going to be receiving their award that night. So we're going to have a court of honor And with that, Mr. Mayor, I will turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Bern. Couple of quick announcements. Bill Hillgrove's 7th Annual Spirit of Christmas Golf Outing. It's for a 4-man scramble format. That'll be on Friday, June 7th, 2013. That's at the Monroeville Golf Course. The time is 9 a.m. Shotgun start. Cost is $100 per player, and the cutoff day is 5/17/13. So come and play with the voice of Pittsburgh Steelers, Bill Hillgrove, and you guys will have a lot of fun. I mean, there'll be the outing includes a golf cart, lunch at the turn, pig roast at the finish, and many skill prizes, including a chance to win a new car for a hole-in-one. So Tom, you're out. I'm sorry. Yeah. No, please remember, this is for the kids, and they really did some unbelievable numbers last year, what they did with the kids. Secondly, I agree, happy St. Patty's Day. Please be safe. I know we have a tendency to party a little too much. I wasn't pointing at you, Betsy. And obviously, happy Easter. Lastly, and I'll wrap this up quickly, as you all know, there are several ordinances that was approved this evening. I assure you, I will review all of them. There is some controversy that we may have to cross, and I'll discuss that at our April meeting. There are some thoughts that I have no authority to veto some of these ordinances. In my discussions with my attorney, if you will, we certainly may be at a crossroad. I will review that at length, and I'll make a decision, as I always do after every meeting on any ordinances before this council. So with that, I will seek a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And good night.